Now we need to accumulate some points and then show the player the points and take away points based on whether they collect a gem, a cupcake, or hit the enemy. So the cupcake, you could slow down or make it move really fast is one way to do it. And you could make, I'm going to make my cupcake be worth a life. And I'm going to make it move really, really fast. So when I run it at 15, it moves super fast. So for him to get it, it's going to be pretty difficult. And I'm actually going to have it start. I'm going to change the reset cupcake to have it start further up on the screen. I'm going to do that random thing again. So I'm going to do a random number between -25 and -150. So we don't know when it's going to show up. So now that cupcake is really flying down the screen. It's a little silly. I may need to mess with that, but that's okay. I want to add a life if they get the cupcake and points if they get gems. So I need to create variables for that. So I have my image sprites, and I'm going to go below them. So right before this draw function, and I'm going to pull a comment out and just type variables, because these are able to store pieces of information, and that's what a variable is. I'm going to go into the variables toolbox, and I need to declare some variables here. I need variable gems. Why don't we just collect gems? And I'm going to set it to 0. And I need another one for lives. And I'm going to start at 3. And that should be it. So I'm going to count gems and lives. Sounds good to me. So every time the main character, the player, touches a cupcake, they gain a life. And every time they touch a gem, they gain a point. So I need to be looking for when they are touching each other or when they cross paths. Luckily, there is a built-in function for that in here. So if we go to sprites, we can look for one that is called is touching. So we're going to look for when player is touching each of these items. And I'm going to just put that all in a separate function for right now. We're going to move away from this main one, and we're going to call this function and have them check it. We're going to call this function, so I'm just going to pull over a call and then I'll make it. So pull one over and call it collect items. And then I'm going to make this function right here. And I'm going to call this collect items. So now I have the one that I called. So the first thing, I'm going to reset this, it's really distracting. Well, the first thing I need to do is check to see if they are touching. So I need an if statement from control, and from sprites I'm going to say if. We'll start with gem 1. So if player is touching gem, then we're going to add to the variable. So we're going to grab this, assign variable. You don't make a new one. We only do this up in the top. So I'm going to use this assign. And I'm going to say gem, is that what I call it? Gems with an S. Got to make sure you're naming things the same. Okay, so right here, gems equals gems plus 1. You can pull that from math or do what I did, which was just typing. So each time the player touches a gem, you're going to add 1 to that variable. So we need to do that same thing for gem 2. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it here and just change gem to gem2. Don't mind my dogs wrestling in the background, but we're still going to have gems equals gems plus 1. So this is going to add to that variable, but we also need to display it so they can see what they have for a score up in the top. So that's in drawing. So I need to show the text that shows that variable, and I'm going to make another function that is called show scores, and I'm going to put that right here. So I'll just call it show score and lives, and then call that function right here, show score and lives. Make sure that you are typing that exactly right. You might just want to call it show score because that's less text. So to show score, what we're going to do is, first of all, pick a color. The default is going to be black, which I think will probably work for this. And I'm going to actually make my text a little bit bigger. So I'm going to say text size equals 18. And then for the text string, the first one that I'm going to do is the gems. So I have to type the actual word gems, and I do a colon and a space. That's the label that I want to show up, and I'm going to have that show up at about 25x and 10y. You can just copy these numbers. 25x. 15 we could actually leave it at 2 because then it's nice and far down the screen. Now if I run this, you should... Oh, we're not going to see it because we have to actually move show score and lives underneath draw sprites because our background is a sprite. So now if I run it, you can see gems here. The color's not quite right, so we're going to have to adjust it. And I actually think that white is actually going to work pretty well for it. So we're going to do stroke color because that's the text color. And we're going to set it to white. And reset it and run it and turn this off. Oh, maybe not stroke color. We'll leave that alone. We'll just say no stroke and fill color white. There we go. That looks nice. That will work really well. I can read it really easily at the top. So that's just the label. I need to show what is actually in that value. So I need to pull over another text string. This is going to hold the variable gems. So we have to get rid of all the quotes. So this is a blank box. Because if you put the quotes in, it's just going to put the word gem again. We don't want that. We want the value that's inside of that variable. We also are going to have to, if you run this right now, this 0 is going to show up over here. We want it to show up right here. If you look at my mouse and look underneath the reset button, it tells you how far over I am on the x-axis. So I'm going to do about 88 right here and reset it and run it. That looks good. That's a nice far distance from it. Okay, so that's our gems. Oh, and she just touched a bunch of them. That's amazing. I need to do the lives. So I'm going to pull over a text string, and this one is going to be lives, and that one starts at, no, I'm going to leave it blank. So lives, colon, and space. This one I want to show up on this side of the screen, so I'm going to hold my mouse up and look. About 285 looks good. We can mess with that if we need to. 285. And then I'll pull over another text block, pull a string over here and call it lives. I need to get rid of all of those quotes again. Oops. And it's lives. And I'm going to start this about right here, which is about 3 44, do 340, and then reset and run, and let's see, it starts at 3. Beautiful, it shows up perfectly. So we are going to need to do a little bit of adjusting here. The gem and the cupcakes are, or at least the gems are set right now, so that when a gem is touched, it then adds 1. One of the problems we're having is that it touches it for a few of the pixels on the screen, so it's adding up a bunch at a time. So as soon as a gem is touched, we need to reset. So we're going to call the reset gem function right here. That's why we set it, each of them separately. So we're going to say reset gem, and then reset gem 2. Because we want, as soon as the unicorn is touching one of them, we want to move that gem back to the start position so it only adds up once. There it goes. Now I touch it and it goes back to the top of the screen. Beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Now the cupcake, when a cupcake is touched, we're going to add 1 to lives. So I'm going to actually copy, Control C, and Control V. And when the player is touching cupcake, we're going to call reset cupcake, because we want the cupcake again to disappear, and start again at the top, if I could spell here, cupcake, and we're going to add to lives, so lives equals lives plus 1. So now when I'm running around here, if she gets 1, now she's got an extra life. Yay! We might need to make her move a little bit faster. The next thing we need to do is code what happens when the gremlin touches. And when the gremlin is touching the player, you lose a life. So I can actually code that right into collect items, or I can code it in a separate function. For ease of time, I'm just going to code it right into here. And I'm going to just copy this one that I made. Control C, Control V, cupcake to enemy, player is touching enemy. We're going to reset enemy, and then instead of adding to lives, I'm going to throw this out, we're going to subtract from lives. So whenever the gremlin touches them, its lives equals lives minus 1. So we're going to take away. So my game's being a little glitchy right now. A lot glitchy, actually. But the gremlin just touched and we lost a life. Here he comes again. Let's let him touch. There, we lost a life, and then it'll reset the gremlin. I'm going to reset. So all of that is coded.